Hello and welcome back to the David67 Celtic News YouTube channel. Today's video obviously going to be a review of Celtic's uh, league title winning 5-0 win over Dundee United yesterday. Slightly nervous, tense game to start with, but then once Celtic got that first goal, there really was only going to be one winner, and in the end it was a very commanding, dominating, convincing win for Celtic, and a replica of last season when we beat Kilmarnock 5-0 away to clinch the title. So brilliant performance all round for Celtic. In today's video, we're going to have a wee look at the goals, a few incidents from the game, my own match ratings, and also the stats for the game. So in the end, Celtic won the title yet again, 4 games to spare, so 55 league titles for Celtic, on course for treble number 9, 19 league titles in the 2000s, so 19 in the last 25 seasons, and an incredible 13 league titles in the last 14. So Celtic clearly a massive dominating force in Scottish football, completely blowing our big rivals away. And as Brendan Rodgers and many of the players were saying in their post-match interviews, a couple of days of celebration, then it's back down to training and tactics and preparation for the game against Rangers next Sunday, and then making plans for the Scottish Cup final at the end of May, and hopefully treble number 9 and Scottish Cup yet again. So, slight surprises in the starting 11, with Kuhn and Jota coming back in, Adam Ida and Forrest dropping to the bench, and Maeda moving into the middle, and slightly nervous start for Celtic. Dundee United did actually have a few wee half chances and attacks in the initial part of the game. But little by little, after about the 10th, 15th minute, Celtic very much got on top, built up the pressure, and in the 30th minute, Celtic got their first goal. Nice corner in from Engels. Scales managed to get his head to it, not an awful lot of force. The ball, however, was heading towards Jota at the back post, and Strain stuck his leg out to try and block it going to Jota, and instead diverted it into his own goal. So an own goal in 30 minutes from Ryan Strain. I think had Strain not deflected the ball into the net, Jota had a very simple open goal, point blank finish to put Celtic 1 up anything. Anyway, slightly sad. Shortly after that, Jota managed to twist his knee. Looks like he's got his foot stuck in the turf and twisted his knee. Could well be anterior cruciate knee ligament injury, which would be rather tragic for Celtic and for Jota, because it could mean a good 9 months to 12 months out. Hopefully, it's more a minor collateral ligament rather than the cruciate ligament that he's damaged. But we'll see, presumably over the next 2 or 3 days, when he's had more checkups from physio, orthopedics, and a knee MRI scan. However, moving on, Celtic kept up the pressure. A brilliant pass by Engels out to Dyson Maeda, going down the left wing. Maeda got in behind the Dundee United defence. Beautiful cross right across the box. And Nicholas Kuhn at the back post. Very good finish. Right footed to put Celtic 2-0 up after 38 minutes. Couple of nice other chances. Adam Ida went close in the 41st, and then 3 minutes into added time, another brilliant ball releasing Dyson Maeda down the left. Nice cross into the middle. Not sure whether Adam Ida was trying to shoot for goal. However, he managed to do the most brilliant dummy, and the ball then broke for Kuhn, who smashed the ball left-footed into the net, and 3-0 for Celtic shortly before half-time. Still a wee couple of minutes still added left. partly due to the Jota injury and partly due to some rather stupid protest by the Celtic fans in the away end. I have all sympathy for the fans having to pay an absolute fortune for the pleasure to go and watch Celtic win the title. Um, I think the ticket prices for that game were absolutely ridiculous, and I think Dundee United were trying to fleece Celtic's fans for every penny they had, and I do have all sympathies for them being unhappy. However, I think throwing tangerines on in the first half and throwing footballs on in the second half, all it really did was put the players off, created delays both times, 3-4 minutes, to clear all the tangerines and footballs off. I think it's actually in the first half knocked Celtic off a rhythm just as they were getting into the game, and similarly disrupted the rhythm of Celtic having gone 4-0 up early in the second half. As I said, moving into the second half, Celtic scored within a few minutes. Brilliant cross by Alistair Johnston and a really nice header by Adam Ida into the ground, giving the Dundee United goalkeeper absolutely no chance. And Celtic added a fifth with another goal for Adam Ida in the 58th minute. A wonderful run by Callum McGregor, a beautiful ball into the box by Callum McGregor, and a very clever quick finish by Adam Ida, giving the goalkeeper no chance at all. 5-0 up. Celtic did try to score a few more goals, brought in a number of substitutes, giving Kuhn and the midfielders and Greg Taylor all a wee bit of a rest. James Forrest had a few shots blocked, and there were chances for hat-tricks for Kuhn and Ida, and a good chance for Paolo Bernardo, but they all went to waste, and the game kind of petered out in the last 10 minutes or so as Celtic and started their celebrations a wee bit early, and the game ended up 5-0 to Celtic. So, well-deserved victory for Celtic, brilliant performance by Celtic, and a quite remarkable 5-0 win away from home against the team likely to end up third, fourth, or fifth in the Scottish Premiership, and does suggest there is quite a gulf of class at the moment between Celtic and everybody else in Scotland. Moving on to the stats, again, these show Celtic's domination. Possession was 75 for Celtic, 25 to Dundee United. Shots were 21-7. Celtic had 6 shots on goal to Dundee United's 4. Celtic had 7 off targets to 3 by Dundee United. Celtic had 8 shots blocked, which is quite a remarkable stat. Celtic blocked no Dundee United shots because they either were all well saved by Viljami Sinisalo or they were off target. Saves were 4-2, with Sinisalo making 2 very good saves. Corners were 8-1 for Celtic, and touches in the box 49-13. Again, all those stats showing Celtic were massively the best team and used their chances to score very efficiently. And certainly that has been one of the differences between the last 3 performances and the rather awful performance against St Johnstone in the 1-0 loss a few Sundays ago, where we had tons of chances, tons of possession, but really were very, very inefficient at getting good shots on goal. This time around, and the last couple of fixtures, we've been really good at converting our possession and our chances in and around the box into goals. Moving on to the player ratings, given Viljami Sinisalo 7.5, thought he actually had a very good game. He made some important saves early on, came for some crosses, got the ball out the danger zone on a regular basis, and made an absolutely brilliant save to keep the score at 5-0. Not sure if that was going to be given offside or onside. Either way, Viljami Sinisalo made a brilliant save, and he spent quite a lot of the game halfway inside the Celtic half, being there to keep all the attacks going and being an outball for the defenders and the fullbacks and the midfielders to use to keep the attacks going and keep the pace up. Given 7.5 for both Alistair Johnston and Cameron Carter-Vickers, I thought they both defended very well when they had to. Middleton, the dangerous Dundee United winger, hardly had any chances to shine down Alistair Johnston's wing, so he tended to swap quite often to the other wing. I thought Cameron Carter-Vickers did a brilliant job marking Dalby out the game. He can be quite a difficult striker to mark and stop from scoring, and I think Cameron Carter-Vickers did a brilliant job. And of course, up the other end, Alistair Johnston a part of a couple of the goals, particularly the fourth goal with that cross for Ida. 6.5 for Greg Taylor, a bit of a quieter game than his last couple of games. Um, really didn't have an awful lot of defending to do. However, he did give the ball away just at the end of the first half. Was it not for a good save by Sinisalo, Celtic could have only been 4-1 up at half time. Greg Taylor, great player in midfield, great player in the final third, plays the inverted fullback role incredibly well. However, not a terribly good defender, and I think in our big games next season, particularly the European games and matches against our likely biggest rival next season, Rangers, I think it's going to be very important that we have somebody who can actually defend on the left side at left fullback. And for that reason, very happy that Kieran Tierney is coming back, and also from the various interviews given by Brendan Rodgers, it does appear that the decision to come back to Celtic next season or not is entirely in Greg Taylor's court. Does appear that Celtic have given him a very good contract offer. However, it does appear that the stumbling block is Greg Taylor doesn't see himself as a number two to Kieran Tierney and wants to be the number one left back. And it seems more this desire to be the number one left back rather than the money that's the issue with Taylor re-signing for the next 3 or 4 seasons. However, moving on to next defender, that was Liam Scales, giving him 6 out of 10. Quite interestingly, at the start of the game, it was Scales who was taking Dalby, with Carter-Vickers being the free player. However, Scales very often was getting beaten by Dalby. However, when the central defender swapped over, Carter-Vickers marked Dalby out the game. Scales, lovely short passes. His longer passing is rather poor. A couple of times he was caught out in defence, so 6 out of 10 for Scales. In terms of the midfielders, given 7.5 for both Rio Hatate and Arnie Engels. I think they both had super games, nice passes, nice interlinking, nice getting the ball out. Some of Arnie Engels' passing was just great. Some of Arnie Engels' corners and crosses are also very, very good. And I think we do have a player next season and the next couple of seasons after that, assuming that he stays with us, who could turn into a real superstar for Celtic in midfield. Rio Hatate, good, efficient performance, some nice passes, some nice break-up, some nice interlinking. And I think he and Callum McGregor dovetail together very, very well. Cal McGregor gave an 8-2. I think he started the game a wee bit quietly, but once we got to about the 25-30 minute mark, he got more and more involved in the game and really dictated the pace and dictated the rest of the game. Brilliant run and pass to set up goal number 5. And I thought McGregor had one of his better games of the season, having started yesterday's game a wee bit quiet. Given 8.5 and joint man of the match to Nicholas Kuhn. Looked a bit more busy, a bit more energetic going up and down his right wing. Came back on a few occasions to make some good tackles and interceptions in defence. And of course scored a couple of goals. And had one of his best games, probably his best game of 2025. And look back to the form he was showing in the first few months of this season. Jota given 6.5, bit of a quiet game, and unfortunately did go off injured. However, he was a factor in that first goal. 6.5 for Jota, and I've given 7.5 for Dyson Maida. 2 beautiful balls to set up the second and the third goals for Kuhn. Had a few half chances himself to score. Bit of a quarter game from Dyson Maida, but still a very, very good game. So 7.5 for him. Moving on to the subs, I've given 8.5 and joint man of the match to Adam Ida. Again, started a wee bit slow when he came on for Jota. However, towards the end of the half, had a half chance that he nearly scored, then was involved in the lead up to the third goal and scored the fourth and fifth himself, and did have a couple of half chances later on to get himself a hat trick. So 8.5 for Adam Ida. Has scored 17 goals this season, which is a really good return, I think, for a player who doesn't actually start that many matches. So well done to Adam Ida. One of his best performances by far this season. In terms of the other subs, James Forrest, I've given a 7 out of 10. Nice and busy up and down his right wing. Cut inside, had a few shots blocked. A couple of nice crosses that didn't quite lead to goals. So a good game from James Forrest, and hopefully that goal will come in the next 4 games. It would be wonderful to see him score next weekend at Ibrox to keep that record of a goal every season throughout his first team career. And the other 3 subs, Luke McCowan 6 out of 10, Paulo Bernardo 6 out of 10, and Jeffrey Schlupp 6.5 out of 10. Thought Bernardo and McCowan rather quiet, didn't do an awful lot of good constructive things. However, they didn't make any mistakes either, and basically had perfectly good performances. So 6 out of 10. Jeffrey Sleep a bit more busy, got himself a bit more further forward. A couple of nice crosses, a couple of nice passes. Had one chance to shoot for goal with his right foot, which he probably should have done. Instead, he went for a pass to one of his teammates instead. And I think Sloop is a good, reliable, versatile player, and I would be happy to see Celtic keep him for next season as a backup to Kieran Tierney. And I think also Celtic should bring in another left back as backup to Kieran Tierney as well. Ideally, maybe a younger left fullback who can develop and learn the game, but be good enough to be a starter in most or all of the Scottish games. That just about finishes things off for today's video. Just a wee polite suggestion, encouragement. If you're not yet subscribed to the channel, please do click that subscriber button. Numbers have been going up nicely over the last few days again. And of course, do feel free to pop your own pleasant, polite, debating points, opinions, comments into the comment section so we can have a nice wee chat and discussion amongst like-minded Celtic fans. So that just about brings our league title championship celebratory video to an end. I will be doing videos off and on throughout next week, leading up to the Rangers match on Sunday. And so, goodbye and hail, hail.